So you're at CNN at the beginning of CNN.
I was badge number 7.
Badge number 7?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. All right.
So we have the original producer at CNN. We got the first executive producer.
This is going to be a breeze. This is going to be fun.
Easy.
All right.
Easy peasy. All right.
Let's do it. All right. Before we start this
This has been recording the whole time I've been blathering.
I'm going to cut it out.
I'm going to harm you.
Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie.
All right, before we start this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, I want to say thank you for tuning in and watching the show. If you're watching the show on YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe to the podcast. Please like and leave comments and hit the notification bell, because that's good for all of the analytical stuff on the YouTube end. And I appreciate you guys being here and watching the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today we are coming to you from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and I have with me somebody everybody should know or probably knows or gets emails from, but I don't know if people would recognize you or know what you look like.
To screw that up.
I know. Right. I have with me Jim Shepherd from the Shooting Wire and the Outdoor Wire, but he was with the Golf Wire, the Golf Channel, the Financial News Network, and before that he was with CNN.
Oh, there goes all the viewers.
Jim, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
The pleasure is mine. So here's where we met. We met at SHOT Show in January of 2023. I was sitting with John Petrolino, and we were talking with Alan Gottlieb, and Alan Gottlieb says, "Oh my gosh, have you guys met Jim Shepherd?" We're like, "No." He's like, "Come on over here. He invites you to sit down. You tell us this story about you stealing the tubes from a radio station that you were working at."
How I got paid by a deadbeat radio.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I left, I'm like, I gotta have this guy on his show. So you gave me your card, and I'm like, when I come down to Tennessee sometime, I gotta have you on the show. And here we are. You're the first person I've ever met who just dropped by Tennessee from Mass. Right, it's a swing by. Well, I will admit, my daughter goes to college down here, and I had to bring her down. So I'm like, how can I write off this whole trip off of my taxes?
This will do it, pal.
Boom. Not that this brings in any money, but yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Yes. So how did you, so from the research that I've done, you grew up in Kentucky, you used to shoot when you were young, you got out of shooting as many people do, and had a career, had a life outside of firearms activities. You did work at CNN. You said it was badge number 7. You just pulled your employee badge out and showed me. Holy crap. 1980 is what it said. Unbelievable.
Well, I was there in 1978, so there was no CNN in 1978, but I was the original producer to do a hiring commitment there.
Yeah.
And I just badgered them into hiring me, basically.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm good at badgering.
The way I see it is this: it's not really badgering if you're a decent person and people like you. You're just talking your way into it. That's all.
It's probably hectoring in my case. Then that's.
So, how long were you with CNN? You were with for what?
I was
5
there
years?
5 years. Mm-hmm. Mrs. Gandhi and I left CNN on the same day.
Mrs. Gandhi?
Yes, she was assassinated the day I left, which was a few years back.
Did you have anything to do with that?
No, I know exactly where I was. I was in the control room screaming, "Why can't I get video?" And then somebody said, "Oh my Lord, there it is." And I'm like, "Oh gosh, we can't show that. They're actually shooting her."
Oh my God.
We did. Shape of things to come.
Right. We can blame it all on you, right?
Why not?
Everyone else has.
I used to have a business card that said, "It's my fault."
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
Well, we also had some cards. CNN went through people fairly rapidly, and we had. I'll tell one quick CNN story. Actually, with 2 parts. One guy that was there, his name was Ed Turner, and his business card said Ed, parenthetically, no relation, Turner. And then we had some generic cards printed up that said President, Cable News Network, and had a dotted line at the bottom, and underneath it said your name here. I had aspirations of putting my name on that line, but I couldn't do it.
Gotcha.
Anyway, it's enough of CNN. I haven't watched them 2 hours since 1985 when I left.
Wow. That's a good record.
Well, yeah, but it is kind of like watching a step-parent do a bad job of raising your children.
I could imagine because the news people today are more about being a personality than being a news reporter.
Building their personal brand.
Yeah.
I didn't have a personal brand, and I still don't. I don't know. Why would I want a brand? I'm not selling anything.
Why? Well, yeah, you're the producer guy. You're getting other stuff done.
Well, I was an anchor before I was a producer, and I'd never endeared myself as an anchorman because I said my definition of an anchor is the thing that holds you in place and impedes any progress. But I also said it holds you on the bottom, keeps you from going anywhere.
This is also true.
Yeah, that anchors didn't like that. A television news anchor reading the story to you is an admission by whomever that group is that they didn't do their jobs. They couldn't get video. They couldn't tell you the story. They just set some schmo down, pour his brains in the top of his head, and let him play them back for you.
It's
a lot of schmoes out there these days.
This is true. This is true. All right, so
I've just offended every friend I used to have.
I think you'll get over it.
I know they will.
So where does CNN lead to? Does that go to the Financial News Network?
I went to PBS first.
Okay.
And PBS I couldn't do well with because I didn't understand not-for-profit. And then I realized I was looking at it wrong, that PBS meant the perfected begging system.
Perfected begging
Yes, you go on like GBH in Boston and you say, we're having a telethon, if we don't raise all this money, we're going to not be able to bring you Masterpiece Theater.
Right.
What they really mean is we're going to have to dig into the $790 million trust fund we've salted away, and we're just not going to do that when you schmoes will pay
give
for
us
it.
money. Right.
And that didn't go well for me. I ran the nightly business report, and then that led to Financial News Network, which led me back to New York City.
Cool. How long did you do the Financial News Network?
Oh, I don't know, a couple of years. Didn't take long to figure out I hated that. Well, I was in New York City. I spent half my life commuting. Well, the first year I was there, my family lived in Miami, and I flew back and forth.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I spent more time with my kids that year than I did the year they moved to New York. Because nobody then, in my pay grade, could afford to raise a family in New York City.
Oh my God.
So they were out in the boonies, and I had to commute, and it was about an hour and a half each way, and I was already working a basic 10-hour New York day. So they were little, they were in bed when I left, and they were in bed when I got home.
Yeah.
It just wasn't much of a life.
It's not. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, but I did New York. You have to do New York. If you're going to be in the industry, you have to do New York. Well, I think New York did me better than I did it, so it was fine. But it was good. I'm just a news guy. It's all I've ever been. I started writing local news in high school for the Lebanon Enterprise in Lebanon, Kentucky, and here I am. Oh my God, I hate to admit this, 56 years later, and I'm still answering the same 7 questions when I can. who, what, why, when, where, how, occasionally how much.
That last one's an important one too.
Well, if you want to answer any question, follow the money.
No kidding.
Who gains?
No kidding.
That's a cynical way to look at it, but that's kind of the way it works.
It is a business. I mean, it's all business.
It's all business.
It's all business. So how does this lead to, how does the Financial News Network lead? That leads to the Golf Wire and the Golf Network?
Actually, it did, kind of in a roundabout way. I decided that I hated New York. New York hated me.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved to Birmingham, Alabama, where I knew a grand total of 3 people. I had worked there in local news. It's where I met my wife. It was at Channel 6 in Birmingham. And we moved back so that the kids could be around relatives and have family. It was a better place to grow up. And I basically, because of my separation agreement, didn't work. So I started playing golf all the time. And
your separation agreement?
From New York, that I wouldn't go to work for a competitor.
Gotcha.
I didn't have a competitor, but who am I to look an extra bit of pay in the face? But so I went to Birmingham, played golf, got bored, started working fill-ins at a radio station, and started. Excuse me, everybody. He'll edit that out, I hope. But started working at a radio station, filling in for the talk show guys, and started a golf show, a golf radio show. And the next thing I know, it's picked up by the Business Radio Network, and we're syndicated around the country, and I once again turned the hobby into work. And listening to the show one day was an attorney for Joe Gibbs. And he called me and he said, I'd like you to meet with my client because I think he's got something going on. He had an idea for the Golf Channel. And I said, well, I think it's a great idea. As a matter of fact, I've been working on it, and I pulled my idea book out. It was pretty similar to his. And we got together on it, and Arnold Palmer got involved in it, and we went out and raised, I don't know, 475, 480 million, who's counting, and kicked off the Golf Channel. So I went there thinking that I would be there forever, and I wasn't. It's not the way things always turn out. And that's how I got into golf. And I got into the outdoors. This is a really weird story, long and convoluted. I got into the outdoors because I was doing commercials for an agency, and was doing a commercial with a guy named Tiger Woods, which is a pretty good golfer.
We might recognize his name.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not a name dropper, but there was this young guy who was a pretty good golfer. We were doing this TV commercial with him. Well, we had a 2-day rain delay in Orlando where we were shooting. And so rather than being Monday, Tuesday, we shot Wednesday, Thursday. And he asked me on the way out, are you going to the gun show this weekend? And I'm like, a gun show? He goes, well, I know you like to shoot and stuff. And I'm like, yeah. He said, yeah, there's a big gun show. And one of the guys said, no, it's a thing called SHOT Show. It's the big trade show for the outdoor industry. And I'm like, well, that sounds like fun. I'm already here. Maybe I'll go. Well, I knew someone who I had been on a PGA Tour committee with and had been in a golf organization with, named Lori Lee Dovey, who was in the outdoor industry in some way, shape, form, or fashion, I thought. So I called her and I said, what's this thing? And she said, you want to go? And I said, yeah. She helped me scam a badge. It's media, because I was media. Well, I mean, it wasn't a scam, but I mean, okay, all right. I have to legitimize this or the NSSF's going to pull my badge next year. I was doing a series of radio shows for Mutual where I talked with business leaders about all sorts of stuff. Well, my MO to get the badge was I told the SHOT Show people that I was going to be doing interviews for Mutual for this leadership series. So they gave me a space out on the floor that was 23 years ago. So all this stuff they're doing now is not all that innovative. It was done before I did it. And I interviewed, I don't know, I think when I finished, I'd interviewed 130 people.
Holy moly.
Well, they came by like every 10 minutes, and I
Right.
did a quick interview. Tell me you do this, do that. What's your advantage? What's your this? Who's your closest competitor? Basic rote questions that you use to do interviews. You know them.
Yeah.
I've heard you ask them. Anyway, I picked up 43 business cards, and I'd been in the media center, and I'd just been to the PGA merchandise show the week before in Orlando. And I went into the media center, and the difference in the two was night and day. In the PGA media center, there were maybe 7 sheets of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was on a disc. It was long enough ago that everybody was on a CD, but there was nothing paper. You had a CD that had everything on it. I go to the SHOT Show, and there are truckloads of paper stacked to the ceiling. And I'm like, oh, they're a little bit behind on technology.
Right.
And I thought, we're doing the golf wire. I bet we could do an outdoor wire. So I picked up the one CD that was in there, which was a CD for a gun company, and they had a great big honking gun, and it had a picture, and I looked at that, and I'm like, I can do something with that. I go to my hotel room, and I take the golf wire, and I strip out the golf wire, and I type in the outdoor wire, and I put the first paragraph of that press release I typed in, and I put that big honking picture there, and then I put lorem ipsum dolor, that fill stuff in the rest of it. I go back the next day and I start talking to these people. I'm like, we're going to launch a news wire for the outdoor industry. He said, well, nobody needs it. What's it going to look like? It's just going to look like this. And I open my computer and they all go, ooh! And I close the computer because I don't want them to look too close. There's one paragraph and lorem ipsum dolor. And anyway, I got 43 cards of people who said I'd be interested in that. I go back, I tell my business partner, who is still my business partner, we're starting an outdoor wire. He said, you got to be out of your mind. Who wants an outdoor wire? I said, well, we'll find out. It's easier to launch it than to test it.
Right.
And so about 2 weeks later, we did 2 a week to start out on Tuesday and Thursday. And I spent Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday calling around to agencies to get them to fax me press releases so I could type them in to the computer, because my goal was to have 6 press releases, each edition, and a little feature.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, I think we distributed 68,000 pieces of news across the services. So somebody figured out they needed it.
Right.
And I haven't had to look for a job in 23 years, and I'm pretty much chronically unemployable at this point.
I think that's awesome. So this is what gets me. I think I know what the answer is. What'd you go to school for?
What did I go to school? Communications.
Communications.
I never wanted to be anything but a reporter. All I ever wanted to be. Law school was a mistake, but it was a short mistake. And I was pretty good at it, but then I realized if you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to deal with criminals. So I'm going to deal with criminals, I might as well be in business. They're just unindicted at that point. But no, I never set out to be anything other than a reporter.
Yeah.
But actually, let me back that up. Back that up a little bit and give you the correct version of that. I never wanted to be anything but a photographer. I didn't even aspire to be a reporter. I wanted to take my camera and make my living with my camera. That's all I ever wanted to do.
Really?
Yeah, but I messed up as a news photographer at a newspaper. I had screwed up and let the photo editor realize that I was smarter than a cranberry and I could get the information for a cut line. And he started telling me I had to write the cut lines for my photos. And all of a sudden I started gathering those 7 questions, and the journalism school training kicked in. The next thing I know, I've trashed a good career as a photographer and become a reporter. And
That's pretty wild.
after that, it's just things just happened.
This is the story stuff that I love to hear. like,
That's a good thing.
It is. It really is, because you wanted to be one thing and then ended up being something else, and that led to this, and that led to this, and this, and this, and this, and you're working at CNN, and then you're making commercials with Tiger Woods, and then you end up in the gun
Everything
industry.
in life.
Like, how does this happen?
You spend your whole life basically tying together little pieces of string. Everything happens for a reason. You may not know the reason. You may never know the reason for some things, but everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And you keep tying your little strings together and rolling them up, and then you look back behind you like, oh my God, that's a big ball of string back there.
Right.
And that's kind of the way it's all worked for me. It's just kind of one thing followed another, and I'm still, even in my advanced age, I have an advantage over a lot of people. I am insatiably curious. I want to know how you do what you do, and I don't care what you do. I want to know about it. I want to know about knife makers. I want to know about gun makers. I want to know how they make the boxes that the stuff ships in. I'm curious about all that stuff because I have no employable skills. I mean, it's a hard thing to look almost 60 years into a career and realize you've never produced anything tangible since you got out of the newspaper business, and people used it to line bird cages.
Right.
Or start fires. If you were like me in the country, you used a newspaper to start a fire. And, I appreciate what I've done because for a kid who grew up in Gravel Switch, Kentucky, I never dreamed that I would get to see the parts of the world that I've seen and meet the people that I've met and do the things that I've done. I mean, I've had a good run, a good long run. Not ready to stop, by the way, but I've had a fun time.
It's unbelievable.
No, it's not.
It isn't, but it's unbelievable.
Why? Yeah, I guess it is unbelievable. If I hadn't done it, I wouldn't believe it.
Right.
So sometimes I tell people, look, I know you're going to have a problem with me telling you this stuff, so I'll just say this to make you feel better. 90% of the stories I tell are 80% accurate, about 75% of the time. And then while they're all wrapped up in the mathematics, I get them to move on. But I look back at stuff, and I've had people say, you need to write a book. And no, I don't need to write a book. We don't need another book by somebody who's reading their resume to you. If I were going to write a book, it would be the stories I didn't get to tell. And I couldn't use that book because my wife would kill me for it, because all of the good stories that don't make the air on television have dirty words in them. Lots of them.
You know what? Nobody watches my YouTube. I don't even think YouTube watches my stuff, so let's hear them.
Oh, I watch your stuff.
I
was flattered to death.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you. I interviewed Argo J in Milwaukee, and he's this big black guy, and he told a story where he dropped the N-bomb, right? And I was just like, I didn't think anything of it until I had to start editing the show, and I'm like, oh, what do I do? And then I asked my friends who don't push the limit on things, and they're like, you can't put that on there. You're going to get a strike. YouTube's going to get you kicked off. You're going to blah, 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 blah. And then I asked my friends who push the limit, and they're like, you didn't say it. What do you care? Put it out there. And then I go back to, I interviewed Masada Yu in Florida.
And he used that word?
He didn't use that word. But what he did say is this. He said, so what's the deal with swearing on your show? And I said, well, if people do, people do. And if they don't, they don't. And if it gets really bad, I have to edit it out. And he says, let's go with court rules. And I'm like, okay, what are court rules? He said, if it's a direct quote, then you can use it.
Exactly right.
So I'm like, okay, I left it in. Nothing on YouTube. Didn't hear anything. I'm like, dude, YouTube doesn't even watch my show. I got people swearing. Not that they're swearing a lot.
I'll get you now because I have a secret key for
Oh!
I'm going to go back and dig that up, and I'm going to be offended.
Oh, great.
I'm going to change No, I'm not going to change my pronouns. They're always going to be the same. I'm
pronoun.
Mine, and your majesty.
I'm pronoun.
What are your pronouns? Mike, Give me an adverb. Give me something I can work with.
Something.
A noun is nothing.
Yeah.
It's a placeholder. What? Yeah.
Oh my God. This is a true story. This is completely pathetic, and I'm embarrassed that I tell this, but it's true. I applied for a job, for a teaching job. I don't know, 18 years ago or so, maybe 20 years ago. I've been with the company I'm with. I've been with for 20 years, so it was before I started working with them. But I applied for this job. I'm sitting there. I wanted to get a job as a band teacher, and I'm sitting there with the parents and the principals and a couple of other teachers, and director of music or whatever. And one of the parents says to me, they're like, "Can you give us 5 adjectives about yourself?" And I was like, "Oh my God!" I start going through all the Schoolhouse Rock songs. I'm like, "A noun is a person, place, or thing." And then I'm like, "Conjunction, junction, what's your function?" I'm like, what is the song with an adjective? I couldn't come up with what an adjective was. I didn't get the job. Couldn't come up with an adjective. I'm like,
Couldn't come up with an adjective.
I couldn't remember what an adjective was.
Dumbass.
I know.
Yeah, there
This
you
is
go.
why I didn't
There's
get
your adjective. Well, all right, you want it? I can give you a better one than that.
All right, let's hear it.
At one point in my career, I was invited to interview. This is so awful. Jerry Falwell may come back from the grave and kill me over this. I was in.
He won't. He doesn't
No,
watch the
actually,
show.
it wasn't Jerry Falwell. It was the other guy. And anyway, I was.
Yeah, this doesn't look
He's
good.
had a boo-boo.
No, that's not good.
Yeah, that qualifies as a boo-boo.
I think so.
Big truck and deep ditch.
Yeah.
But anyway,
All right, we're gonna.
I
bring
was
you
invited to come up to what is the religious group in Virginia that has the network? Yeah, this is probably a good time to turn around. We're 300 miles out of town.
here. Right.
But
The religious guy that's got the group in Virginia that's got the network.
not EWTN. That's the little Catholic network in
Right.
Birmingham. But
It's not that little old nun, is it? She's got to be
PTL. PTL guys.
Pay the lady.
You pay the lady.
Oh, praise the Lord. Sorry.
Same. Anyway, I get invited up there to interview as the 300 Club news director.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
I need a job. And that is the definition of I needed a job.
Right.
And so we have this meeting. I'm on my absolute best behavior, which is probably C+ in real people. And we go to lunch. And we all sit down to eat. They bring the food out, and the head guy, Robertson, says,
Pat Robertson.
yeah,
Right.
says, "Would you bless the food for us?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I put my head down, and the first 3 words out of my mouth were, "Now I lay me."
Oh my God.
And I stopped and I said, no, wait.
Wrong
I'm
prayer.
sorry. And I prayed.
Good. I said,
And it was
good
this
food,
profound
good
prayer.
Food, good meat. It's late. Let's eat.
Anyway, he looks at me, and before he can get a bite of food in his mouth, he starts laughing. He said, "That was a great recovery." I said, "It was a shaky start, but a solid dismount." And he laughed, and he said, "You're not used to praying over your food, are you?" And I said, "No, but oh God, if I get through this lunch, I'll never do another one like this." And everybody at the table laughed, and I went back to the airport and flew home. We never spoke again. And
Oh my gosh.
it was best for everyone.
That's great. That's awesome.
Now I lay me. That's 4 words, by the way. I mean, I've had a lot of interviews go wrong.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 ways an interview can go. That's good and bad.
Right.
There are no indifferent interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my best interview was one I never had. I was going from flying to a certain city in the Midwest, Tulsa, and to interview for a job there.
Yeah.
Well, we fly across nothingness for quite a while.
Mm.
And then I see 4 buildings stuck out in the middle of the nothingness. And we circle and they say, "There's Tulsa." And I'm like, uh-oh. Because at that point, I'm living in a major metropolitan city.
Right.
And very much into the ego thing of I'm on television and I'm in a very important place.
Right.
So the plane lands, I get off, I go to the payphone, which tells you how long ago this was, and I call the station and ask for the general manager.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, yeah. I said, hi, it's Jim Shepherd. He said, I'll send a car out for you. I knew you were coming in, but I wasn't sure what time. I said, listen, I don't know how to say this. There's no way I'm coming to work in Tulsa.
Yeah.
Period. Maybe a great city. Probably is, but I just can't do it. And I'm at the airport, and there's a flight back to the city I came from in 9 minutes, and I'm going to be on it. I would gladly pay you the ticket, but I don't want to waste your time. And he said, I don't know how to thank you. You saved my golf game. I was going to have to talk to you this afternoon and not play golf. This is the only day this week I can play. Thanks a lot. Don't worry about the plane ticket. And he hung up on me. I got on the plane, went home.
Oh my God.
Sometimes the things you don't get are better than the things you get, because the definition of the experience is what you got when you thought you were going to get something else.
Yes, the experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted, right?
Or when you thought you were going to get something else. Yeah,
Yes.
same way.
Yeah.
I've had some experience.
It sounds like you've had a ton of experiences.
I've had a lot of fun, though.
I love these stories, man. I am all about having a good story. I'm all about it. Like, let's do it. I bought a gun. I interviewed somebody in Delaware a couple years ago. And I went to wash my car because I wanted to go out. I was going to treat myself to like the Texas Roadhouse and go out for a generic steak dinner. And as I was waiting in line for my car at the car wash, I pulled up my phone. I'm like, are there any gun stores in the area? And I found a gun store. So I went to the gun store, and I walked around, and they had a $75 Western 12-gauge break-action shotgun. This thing was, who knows, it was probably built in the 20s or 30s, maybe 40s. I mean, it was forever old. $75. And I'm like, man. I'm like, do I want to go out for steak, or do I want to buy a shotgun? So I walked around the store.
You can get a steak.
Right. Get a couple of steaks. So
get all the steaks you want.
So I went in and I took the gun off the rack, and I said, here's, I want to buy this. I said, I know I got to fill out the 4473. I said, I'm a gun instructor in Massachusetts. Here's my driver's license. Here's my Mass license. And I fill out the 4473, and the guy says, okay, so here's what's going to happen. One of three things. Either you're approved and you get to walk home with a shotgun. If you're delayed, then you have to you have to come back within 3 days, and you can bring the shotgun home. And I'm like, well, I'm leaving tomorrow at 11 o'clock, so that's not going to be an option. And he says, or if you're denied your background check, then we charge you $50 for the background check. And I'm like, all right.
I'm going for a steak.
I said, for $50 I get a story, and for $75 I get a story and a shotgun. So let's do it. So we did the background check, everything went through. I walked home, put the shotgun over my shoulder out to the car, broke it apart, put it in my trunk. I went to Walmart. I spent $5 on a couple of Mama Celeste pizzas, a candy bar, and a soda for lunch for dinner. And I'm like, perfect. I get a shotgun. I've never fired it. It's just sitting in the gun safe. I'm like, I got a good story for $75.
I wouldn't shoot a gun from the 20s either. That's what we used to call a post gun.
A post gun?
Yeah, a post gun. When I grew up on a farm in RSWC, Kentucky, my dad traded for anything and everything. And I'll tell you a story about what he brought home one time. Anyway, he used to trade for guns all the time, because back then it was okay.
Right.
My first gun came from the Snappy Grill in Springfield, Kentucky. They sold sandwiches and guns.
Oh my gosh.
And cigarettes and every other fun thing. It was like an ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
Right.
How much better can I get? I don't smoke, but tobacco made my way through school, so who am I to complain? Anyway, my dad used to say, I traded for a gun. I said, oh, let's go shoot it. He'd say, it's a post gun. So we would go out to a fence post, and we would wire said firearm to the post, and we would tie a string to the trigger, and we would go back behind the tree and we'd yank the lanyard. And if it was a good gun, it was still there. If it was not a good gun, you'd go back and there'd be grips or something wired to a post, but you didn't blow yourself up. So,
oh my God,
a post gun.
A post gun. There we go. That's a pretty cool definition.
Yeah, it's a gun you would have to tie to a post before you shoot it.
Yeah, that's a good gun.
Boss would never shoot that
Oh,
gun.
right. Oh my goodness. I love this.
I'll get a call from him if he sees that or someone tells
I'll send him a link.
Why are you not booting me? Because I can.
Oh my goodness. So you've been around for a long time. You've made so many cool people, so many great stories.
I've got another one today. Got another great story. A guy came down from Mass just to ride around the car and chat with me.
Oh
Could have done it on the phone, but I'm not arguing.
It's so my deal with just this week I was talking with a friend of mine. He's like, dude, why don't you, like, you don't make any money on this, why do you keep doing it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, why don't you, he's like, why don't you just, you know, Zoom people and put a background, put them in a green screen. And I'm like, dude, that sounds like a lot more work.
It's not real.
It's not. And I said, you have the deal with interviewing people in the car is you're kind of stuck here with me, right? Like you're a captivated audience.
You turnabout's fair play, pal. Because I ain't getting out and I got a bag. You don't know what's in it.
But I think you have a different connection with people when you're face to face in a small,
Well, sure,
you know,
do.
in a small area.
Which is why COVID was so hard on people.
Oh yeah, oh my God, absolutely.
And we've got a whole generation of people now who are emotional. I can't say that. I have to change it. Let me edit what I was going to say. They are emotionally stunted because they came out of school with their heads buried in their phones, and then they found out they could make a living working from home with their heads buried in their phones. And now they have no idea what's outside their head other than their phone.
Yeah.
And there are business groups now that are making good money teaching young people at companies that are performing useful tasks how to behave around other people. They have no skills. They don't know how to dress. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to interact for certain. And it's kind of frightening. But this, you know, it's why I enjoy working from home. I do. I enjoy being by myself when I want to be. But I crave this kind of interaction with people.
Yeah.
I like going with people. It was almost a bad idea. But anyway, I like going to testing and evaluation events with other writers and real gun writers and stuff because of the yeasty interaction of people and the opinions. You miss that if you don't get out and mix up with people.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Absolutely. I recently saw a story that the employees at Zoom now have to go meet in person. Now I have to go back to the office.
Yeah. My daughter is moving from Nashville to Boston. Why is she moving from Nashville to Boston? Any sane person would ask.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason for that. There are about 1,000 people or more in the office of the company that she works for in Boston. She has worked on her own for 3 years, and she misses the interaction with people enough that she's willing to relocate to get it.
Yeah, it's $1,000.
I understand that. You can't live in a vacuum.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't get all of your information and all of your interaction vicariously from somebody telling you what you need to think, feel, eat, do, or be. You got to do it yourself. You have to, occasionally you have to skin your knee to feel alive.
To feel alive. I was just going to say that. Yeah. That's awesome.
I don't know. We pray or take up a collection. It sounded like a sermon there, didn't it?
This is what it's about, man. One of the objectives of my show is to let anti-gun folks see that gun people in the gun community are just regular people. Like we're the same everywhere we go. We all have a story about what we do and how we got into becoming a gun guy and what we do. And like I said, I think before we started the show is you in order to have a successful fill in the blank, you have to have someone that knows how to run the business about that.
Yeah.
It's not about like the example I said was you could be a great band, but if you don't have anyone that's out there to promote your band and get you whatever, get you on the air and get you at radio stations and get you good gigs, It doesn't matter how good you are.
There are better bands waiting tables in Nashville than there are playing in the clubs.
Oh, yeah.
But nobody knows who they are.
Nobody knows who they are, exactly.
Which reminds me, I watched your interview with Cam
Oh,
this morning before I met you.
thank you.
Are all the angry, red-bearded men in America in Farmville, Virginia?
No, just Cam.
Music reference, I had to throw a curveball in there.
Oh. Wait a second. Willie Nelson's not from Farmville, is he? He's from Lubbock, Texas.
He doesn't know what he is, much less whether he's angry or not. Willie, got a great Willie Nelson story, but you all are not going to hear it.
Oh, man.
No.
A month ago, I don't know when the show's going to come out, but a month ago I interviewed Michael Bain out in Colorado, and I love having the old guys because they have a ton of stories. I love it. I can't wait to hear a Willie Nelson story.
Well, this is Willie Nelson's birthday party. Now, I played the Petrolino Country Club,
Yeah.
which is owned by Willie Nelson.
Okay.
Or the IRS. I'm not sure where all that shook out. But anyway, that you know the kind of person you're going to get when you play golf there. When it says, golfers, please replace, it's divots. You take a divot when you hit the club fat or whatever, hit the ball fat, or hit the ball fin and the ground fat. At the Petrolino Country Club, it says, golfers, please replace your shits.
That's
Because
awesome.
you go, and you miss one.
Oh, that's
And
great.
so Willie just says, shirts, and it says, at the Petrolino Golf Club, shirts and shoes are optional, except for this guy's name, that fat bastard.
Oh my God.
So, it sometimes it works to be you, and sometimes it doesn't. But after you get to be relatively successful, you better be you, or it'll bite you.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided it was time for me to get out of television, because I didn't want to be what it was turning me into, which was hard, cold, cynical. Wait a minute, I'm still 3 for 3. And divorced and miserable, usually drunken.
Right, that's just the bonus.
And there were a lot of people that were angry because what they did defined who they were.
Yeah.
What I do doesn't define who I am. It decides whether or not I eat. But, I can do something else. I'm not sure what. Probably be a greeter at Walmart for a day or so. My dad tried that, and they banned him from Walmart.
What?
Yeah. He got mad at the manager and apparently threatened him, and they said, you can't come back to Walmart.
Oh my God. That's
What do you do to get banned from Walmart?
No kidding.
Well, ask my dad. He knows.
Oh my goodness.
Well, when somebody who is large comes into the store and says, I need one of those ride-arounds, the greeter is not supposed to say, if you would walk around the store, you wouldn't be so damn fat. But a short-term employee did and got banned from Walmart.
That'll do it.
Hey,
That'll do it.
truth hurts. He really didn't like it because he told me he was going to get this job as a greeter at Walmart, and I laughed. I said, I'll take the under on that. No matter what the under is, I'll take it. It's 7 minutes. I'll take that.
Oh my God.
For
that's
big
great.
money. Every penny I ever hope to have, I will put on the under.
Oh my gosh, that's
And
awesome.
I didn't hear from him for weeks, which told me I'd won my bet. And when he finally relented to talk to the grandchildren, I asked him how'd it go, and he said, I'm banned from Walmart. And then he told the story. Of course, when I hooted, laughing at it, he realized it was a great story, and he didn't care.
It's about having a good story.
Hey, a good story, a good story, like an old shotgun, is better than one steak.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if you didn't watch all these, you're going, what the hell is he talking about? You're going to do that if you watch it from beginning to end. I guarantee you that. I kind of tend to whine.
I noticed that.
And I did stand-up, so...
Really?
Oh, God.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. There's nothing any more deadly than somebody saying, you do stand-up? You go, yeah. Now say something funny. It's like you'd be an agent.
Oh, right. I did a stand-up comedy writing course 10 or 11 years ago, right just after I got divorced, and it was something for me to do. Right?
I can laugh at that.
It was something for me to do on Wednesday nights when I didn't have the kids, and it was like one of these community after hours continuing education for adults or some nonsense. And fast forward, like we had to do 5 minutes of stand-up, which was cool, so I did that. Fast forward a couple of years, I was doing this class with a guy that became my mentor. His name's Dennis, and one of the ladies in this class, the class is called Find a Way, and it's how to find a way to figure out what you want to do more on in life and all that. So one of the ladies said she was a waitress at a breakfast restaurant, and she said she thought she was funnier than Ellen and thought she should be on TV. And I said, hey, I know someone that does stand-up comedy. Let's go do this. So I contacted the lady. I started going to check her out at open mics, and I would go up. I invited this lady to come to a stand-up with me, and she chickened out. But Dennis and I ended up going out and doing stand-up pre-COVID. We'd go out once or twice a month to a couple places, and it was a lot of fun. So fast forward to 2020, the lady calls me up and she's like, hey Charlie, are you still teaching gun classes? I said I am. So she's like, I'm a woman of a certain age, I think I need to get my gun license. I'm like, you know what, we need you, like, come in, take a class. And June of 2020 was great for teaching gun classes. The riots were really good for business, So she comes into a class. I always ask people, I'm like, hey, do you have any good jokes before we start class? And so she ended up coming in late. The lady next to her said, do you have any good jokes? And she's like, she looked at me and she said, you told them I was a comedian? I said, I didn't. You just did. But do you have any good jokes? And she said, I don't tell jokes when the sun's up. I'm like, oh, what a bunch of crap. I'm like, come on, you gotta, produce. Let's go.
Let's hear it.
Yes. Yeah. Tell it. You're funny. Tell us a joke.
Jokes. Not that I can tell in mixed company.
Right. Those are the ones that we need to hear, for sure.
Well, the ones that are best are where you're at the punchline.
Oh my God!
And the secret of comedy's always the same. Someone gets hurt, it's just not you.
Right.
What do you mean? We all laugh at stuff that hurts. There's nothing any funnier than slapstick.
Yeah.
Abbott and Costello, give them the old 1-3. Give them the old 1-3.
The old 1-3.
What about 2? 2's for you.
Nice.
Who's on first? And the classic stuff's always funny. But there is no comedy now. You can't say anything funny.
Oh my God, not at all. Not at all.
Chris Rock is brutally honest about the fact that you can't be a comic these days. And, my crack about the angry redbeards from Farmville is going back to the same thing, that if you don't fit the mold, even if you look like the mold, they're going to come after you. Country music is mellow rock anymore. If you want to hear good rock music, you got to go to a country concert.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoy country music, but man, I enjoy a lot of the old stuff, and the stuff nowadays is not so much country. I'm not a music. I'm not qualified to be a music critic. I know what I like, and that's my definition of what's good. What's good is what I like. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's why I would never be able to work as well, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm just not going to give you the cheap line that goes with that. But, I'm not the arbiter of somebody else's taste. Mm-hmm. And I think that may be one of the things, boy, that one's going to be shaky. It may be one of the things that sets what I do apart from other people. I don't tell you what you should think. I tell you what I know to be factual. And then what you think is up to you. And what you do with that knowledge is up to you. And I think that's where media has gone off the rails. They want to tell you what they think the narrative is, what your truth should be, and all that stuff. Truth is truth. 1 and 1 is 2. 2 and 2 is 4. We can go up to maybe 16 and 16 is 32, and I'm still confident. But I don't do a lot of big numbers.
Right.
I always believed and was taught by real live journalists who are all gone now that it's okay to tell the people the truth. It's never okay not to tell them the absolute truth if you know it's not the absolute truth. Because if you give people the information, history's kind of proven out that a large majority of the time they'll make the right decision. It's not your job to tell them what they need to do. It's your job to tell them what they might need to know. And it's also one of the rules that seems to have been forgotten is when you talk to people, you should always assume intelligence, but don't presume knowledge. Everybody doesn't know everything about the XYZ. Everybody can't field strip an AR-15. Nobody can take a Colt Commander apart and put it back together easily the first time.
Right.
Everybody shows up with the bag of parts at the gunsmith and says,
What do we do?
Yeah, you forgot about that little pin you got to push down.
Yeah.
And if you have a Smith & Wesson M&P, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh my
There's a
gosh.
little pin you got to push down.
Right, the little yellow
Because if you
thing.
don't, it won't go back in the battery. But why do I need to know that? You need to know that because you can't put your gun back together without that knowledge. It's baseline knowledge. Give people some knowledge and then push them a little bit if you want to, but don't think that everybody knows it. I hate shorthand. I hate acronyms. I hate shortcuts for stuff. I also hate having to spell things all the way out. More than anything else, I hate it when people don't know the correct abbreviation for a state when I write a press release.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
WASH is not the abbreviation for Washington. That's wash, which is what you do with dirty clothes. Washington is WA. Wyoming is WY. Why is this so difficult? Nobody can do this. And nobody can write a complete sentence anymore unless it's 200 words long.
Oh my gosh.
Apparently. We've shorthanded ourselves to the point we have to longhand everything. They don't even teach longhand in school anymore, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, they don't.
There's, I got a
Cursive, longhand, cursive.
Cursive. Oh yeah, forget it. Cursive is out.
I learned cursive in the locker room, like everybody else.
Oh my God, that's great. All right, listen, we are almost back to where we need to be. How
Can't take any more, huh?
I
I've
know
worn
this-
another one down.
this battery's almost done, so that's what it comes down to.
I got batteries.
How can we gotta find somewhere to pull over here.
That's it, man.
No, not yet.
Actually, this is it.
This is it.
This is
we,
it.
we can go this way.
You can go this
Oh,
way.
we can, can't we?
You're going to have to give me complete control to do it without getting lost, but that's okay. Anyway, you're
this
going to
all-
ask me a question. How do I...
Yeah. How do I gotta find a better place to park so we can wrap things up and.
No, any of these
Any
will
of
work.
these-
There's
any
nobody
of these
down
will
there.
work.
It's a ghost town.
This is that is good. All right, we're gonna pull over here.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so
Your whole life flashed before my eyes.
wasn't that exciting?
No, it wasn't that bad.
How can people find? How can people get to the Outdoor Wire and the?
We
Shipping
have
Wire?
cleverly disguised it. If you'll type in the Outdoor Wire, it'll come up on the internet browsers, or if you just type in www.theoutdoorwire.com, you'll see it, and you can go to a subscribe button, and it'll show all 10 of our wires, and you can just click off to your little heart's content, as many as you want.
Oh my God, that's right. There's the shooting wire. There's the archery wire.
Don't ask me to do all these.
Okay.
I always
All
miss one, and somebody gets
upset. So the
outdoor wire was first. Shooting wire was second. Tactical wire was third. All that's wrong. Fishing wire was second. Anyway, there's 4. Birding wire, hunting wire, dealer wire. There's 2 more. Give me an adjective. Anyway, they're all listed on the page. You can get them there.
All right.
QA Outdoors, which is where I do this, but I use AI to transcribe it so people don't have to look at my mug when I'm talking to people. And everything's around. The dealer wire will frustrate you because if you're not a dealer or an FFL licensed dealer, you can't get it because it has things in it. Things like pricing and incentive spiffs and things, because you want to think that the gun guy behind the counter is really recommending the XYZ Mobaba to you because the XYZ Mobaba is the best gun, when in fact he's getting a $20 spiff if he sells one.
Gotcha.
We don't share that information.
Yeah, that's not a good call.
Often. But anyway, that's kind of the way it works. And and it's worth exactly what it costs.
Nothing.
It doesn't cost you anything. I charge a lot of other people big bucks to do it because they want to talk to the people that read it.
That's cool.
23 years, we're kind of the Bible of the outdoor industry.
That's awesome.
I wonder if all Bibles were written by like heretics.
Probably.
Well, if you look at how it turned out for a lot of them, maybe so. Probably.
Maybe. All right, Jim, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate
this. I'm honored to get the titans in the industry that have been around for forever and that are doing things and making the moving and shaking happen. And I really appreciate this.
Thank you. And thank you. This is new stuff. This is the way it's supposed to be. Doing new things. Everybody should watch this.
Everybody should watch this. Anyway, listen, if you are watching this and you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please make sure you do. If you are not a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, you can go to saf.org and you can join them. It's $150 for the lifetime membership. There is going to be a link in the description below so you can join them, and they'll be like, hey, everybody, Charlie, these are the people that Charlie sends to us. So that's always good. You can check out all of your favorite pro-freedom podcasts at sdrn.us. That's the Self-Defense Radio Network. And if you made it this far, you definitely need to be sharing the show with your friends, because this is how we get the stagecoach across America. Thank you guys very much. This has been awesome. Thank you.
I don't know. You already buttoned your clothes. I'm not going to say anything now.
We're good, man. Easy peasy.